And again, Division 296, and I'm coming back to this, being the catalyst to talking about restructure, rethinking how we address the next 10, 15, 20 years as advisors for our clients. As you said, once upon a time, it was a simple matter of put as much in super as you can. Make it tax effective, have your Aussie property, you'll be great. Now you've reached that stage, or if you are a specialist who is in their 30s or mid 30s and you know you're going to hit that $3 million number pretty quick, your cash flow projections or your forecasting of your super funds that your advisors are doing for you should now have an element of, hey, if you're going to hit your $3 million by making 70% of the available contributions you've got, then that other 30% needs to be rethought. And if it can be rethought, where does it get rethought? It gets rethought to investment bonds. Then you think about the estate planning, that if you are over the $3 million threshold, there is an opportunity to take some money out to get under that $3 million threshold. You're then sitting and having a conversation with your solicitors and your advisor and your accountant to state, hey, let's think about this. Let's rethink the estate planning process. This is the way our will is currently structured. These are the way our attorneys are currently structured. Let's talk about bringing forward some of our estate planning, tie in the intergenerational wealth piece and say, hey, maybe an investment bond is the right thing to think about by way of setting up education accounts for our children or our grandchildren or what have you. So you're just trying to now rebuild the jigsaw and put it all back together.
And joining the dots on that, it's a great segue into what we call the child plan. So we know, we've spoken before about the tax on minors. So I think a conversation every financial planner in Australia should be having with their elderly clients is, what are you doing for the grandchildren? I've got 3 children in their 20s, and guess what? Boomers are rich, we can't afford a house. It's the same conversation in every household. And the parents who are probably still working in their mid to late 50s and trying to save for their own superannuation and retirement, they probably don't have the funds to hand down to the children. So it's probably going to come from the grandchildren, from the grandparents to the grandchildren. And what a child plan investment bond is, a unique facility. It's actually covered under the Life Act as a child endowment policy. And what grandparents can do is they can nominate to leave money to a child. So they could put, say, $50,000 into an investment bond, who a child might be 5 years of age, and they can nominate an age between 16 and 25, at which time those children receive that money. Okay, so you might have, we've got clients who have got 10 grandkids, they put away $40,000 for each grandchild, and they say at the age of 21, each of these children can access their money. Now, the great thing about this is it's not taxed at that penalty rate for the minors, and the grandparents still have full control of that money until they pass away.
What happens when they pass away?
Well, first of all, it can be owned jointly, so that's a good thing. The grandparents can own it jointly, grandma and granddad can own it, and unfortunately for us guys, granddad generally passes away first. And then grandma has full control of the money, and if she needs the money, she can access it. If she's nominated 21 for the grandchild to have the money, and the child puts a hand up and says, hey, I don't want to go to uni, I want to start a landscaping business at 18 years of age, they can access the money earlier for that child. So you've got full flexibility about that money. But once the grandparents pass away, then the money sits there in trust for the children until they reach that age. And then when they reach that age, they receive that money with no taxation and ramifications whatsoever.
What if the grandchild doesn't want to access the money?
If they do want to access the money?
If they don't?
Or if they don't, then you can always add, an investment bond ceases when the life insured passes away. So as an owner of the investment bond or an investor, I'm the life insured, and I can nominate a beneficiary. And if I pass away, the beneficiary gets paid the money with no tax consequences. However, you can also add a life insured to make these investment bonds continue down the family. So I can make my daughter the life insured and the beneficiary. When I pass away, she gets the money. She can make her daughter the life insured and the beneficiary, and it can continue down the line. So the investment bond can continue as long as you want it to continue by having that nomination.
Can the beneficiary also be the life insured?
Yes, they can. So
if grandma nominates grandson?
Yes.
as the beneficiary.
Yes.
The grandson reaches 21. Grandma is still alive.
Yep.
But grandson says, you know what? The 10-year tax rule is only about 2 years away.
Yep.
There's a great opportunity for me to capitalise on that.
Yep.
I'd like to carry on.
Yep.
Grandma is falling sick, potentially coming to end of life.
Yep.
They can arrange to have the grandson as the life insured and the beneficiary.
And they can continue on because, of course, you might not want to draw down all the money.
Yeah.
These investment bonds are a great structure from cradle to grave.
Yeah.
You can nominate a child who's 1 year of age to have money to be the beneficiary of this money, and they may get to 20, they may get to 18 and say, I need this money for my education.
Yeah.
So they can draw down a bit of it. They may finish university and they're 22, 23 and they want to pay off their HECS.
Yeah.
They may want to do that. They may hit 25 and have a year off and travel the world. They can draw down money on that. Then they hit 30, 35, and of course along the way they can contribute to this as they wish. Their parents can contribute. The grandparents have already contributed up front. They hit their 30 years of age, they meet a partner and they want to spend some money on a deposit on a house. They can access it. So these things can operate throughout your life, just like a bank account effectively, but you've got a range of investment options and you're taxed at that 30% earnings. So yeah, you've got total flexibility on when and how you pay tax with an investment bond, and you've got total flexibility on the duration of the investment and how you access your capital.
Tell our viewers about the 10-year tax rule.
Yep.
And also if you could touch upon the 125% rule.
Yeah,
as well.
So investment bonds are actually a life insurance policy. Now I know that sounds odd because they look like a managed fund or a superannuation that's taxed at 30%. And in that essence they are. You can invest into these options, pay your tax on the way through. But there's various tax benefits. So as I said, the fund pays tax at 30%. With some franking, you can probably get down to about 20%. If I leave my money there for 10 years, I don't pay any tax on the withdrawal, regardless of my personal tax rate. If I draw the money out within the first 10 years, I have to take those earnings and pay tax on it, maybe at 47%, but I get a 30% tax rebate for the tax paid. So I'm paying an additional 17% tax. So in fact, I'm no worse off if I access my money within 10 years than if I'd invested the money direct myself. However, the benefit is if you stay there for 10 years, you can take your money out with paying the additional tax. Now, that 10 years can come back further if you nominate a life insured and they pass away. So the life insured could be the owner and you pass away, your beneficiaries get the money and they don't pay any tax. Or you could nominate a third party life insured. So you might have your great uncle who's 98 years old living in a nursing home, probably not going to live for another 10 years unless he goes in the Guinness Book of Records, in which case when he passes away you get the death certificate and you present it to Centuria Life and we'll pay the money out tax paid. So there's a few different options there. The 125% rule you mentioned is the way you can contribute money. And of course with any savings vehicle, the more contributions you make along the way, the bigger the pool at the end. That's the compounding interest, of course. So with the 125% rule, you can put up to 125% of the previous year's investment each year, and it treats it as if it was all in year one. So in year 10, you can be putting in a big chunk of money, and 12 months later, it comes out as tax paid. Now, 125% of zero, unfortunately, is zero. So if you miss a year, then you've got to maybe start up another investment bond. But that's what you can do. So you can have a regular savings plan. You can tick the box. I'm going to put in $100 a month, $500 initial start. It's as low as that. And each year you can tick the box that it increases automatically by 25% per annum. And let's say you get a bonus from work or something like that, or an inheritance, you can just start up another investment bond and it can have a different start date. Okay, so they're very flexible in the way you can do those things.
Yep. And remind us on the estate planning benefit of the investment bond. If a grandparent is giving something to a grandchild or a friend or whoever, how it is separate from.
Yeah, so that's important. Quite often you might want to have, you might want to leave money to a neighbour or a friend, or you might have children who have been remarried and they've got children and other family members that you may not wish to leave the money to. So if you nominate who's going to get the money, when you pass away, the money's paid within 10 days. And then the whole estate process happens with probate, and of course that's when it tends to get contested. Now, if you wanted to leave some money to a friend or a neighbour who's someone who helped you out through life, or even a charity, your children may challenge that because they might say, hey, I'm entitled to that. And quite often people get a bit of a shock when the will's read out. Who's that person? Why are you getting that money? And they can take that to court and they can challenge it and it can be overthrown. With an investment bond, your nomination is effectively binding. The money's paid to that person, and when the big debate happens later on, that money's not part of that.
Let's finish off, Michael. Let's talk a little bit about Centuria. Tell us about your bond product. Tell us a bit about your child account.
So Centuria has been a friendly society for over 40 years. We're listed on the Australian Stock Exchange. We're an ASX 200 company. The code is CNI. So we're a big company. We've got about $21 billion worth of funds under management. We've got a property division and the investment bond life company. The life company has a product called Centuria Life Goals. We called it Life Goals because we think superannuation is all about retirement, and life goals is all about saving for the things you want to do in your life, whether it's saving for your children, saving for your children's education, saving for an early retirement. Those types of options are there for you. We've got a website, Centuria Life Goals, where you can go on there. There's a number of case studies where you can look at different scenarios. There's a calculator where you can go in and put in some numbers and future projections around earnings. Really, we're there to help you. There's a 1-800 number. You can give us a call and chat to us. Everything's online nowadays, which is great. You can do an online application. It takes you 5 minutes. And as I said before, you can start off with a very small amount of money. And I really encourage all people to start a savings plan as young as possible. If you've got a child who's 5 years old and the grandparents put in some money to kick them off, and then the parents kick them some regular savings, or if you've got a child who's even 21 years of age, and the grandparents put in $10,000, $100,000, whatever the situation may be, the grandparents can make regular contribution and the child can make a regular contribution. And I know it's cost of living's high today, but I think a 25-year-old or a 20-year-old can be putting away $100 a month, and then all of a sudden you blink and you're 30, 35, and you've got a big pool of money there to access. But the sooner you start with your savings, the sooner that compound interest, and compounding at a tax-effective rate, can give you that big balloon payment at the end. So I really encourage everyone to start a savings plan as early as possible. If the kids haven't got the money to kick the money in, then the parents or grandparents can get it started.
I hope that was a good little introduction around investment bonds. If you're an advisor for your clients or clients out there, something worth considering. Have a conversation with your advisors. We'll see you at the next session. Thank you.